The entire high school was abuzz with rumors that Shanghai was a shameless, thick-skinned toad trying to devour a swan. And that swan was none other than Zhou Yan, the cold and brilliant academic god who had topped the honor roll for 3 consecutive years, never once dropping to second place. In everyone's eyes, Zhou Yan was a pristine flower atop a snow-capped mountain, a celestial being untouched by worldly dust. While I was just an average student, constantly buzzing around, chasing after his retreating figure. "Jiang Kai, can't you just stop?" Kaiouyi, the class beauty and the one who always believed she was Zhou Yan's perfect match, sneered. "Zhou Yan doesn't like you. Why do you cling to him like a leech? You're embarrassing our class." She flicked her manicured nails, casting a venomous glance my way, her voice as sour as pickled fruit. I was hunched over, solving a math problem, but at her words I looked up, twirling my pen, a faint, cynical smile playing on my lips. "What does it have to do with you? Zhou Yan hasn't even told me to leave. What right do you have to bark?" I paused, then added, "Oh, I forgot. Dogs bark and only other dogs understand. I'm human, so I don't." The entire class gasped. Kaiouyi's face flushed crimson, and she slammed her hand on the desk, standing up. "Who are you calling a dog? I'm telling you, yesterday I saw you secretly slipping a love letter into Zhou Yan's desk. A girl as shameless as you, Zhou Yan would never spare a glance. He hates being disturbed when he's studying." I shrugged, not bothering to explain. That love letter was actually an IOU. Yesterday, I accidentally spilled a cup of milk tea on Zhou Yan's pristine white shirt. That shirt cost me a month's worth of snack money, so I wrote an IOU, promising to wash it clean and return it. But in the eyes of these people, every action I took involving Zhou Yan was automatically labeled as flirting or stalking. Just as the tension in the air was stretched taut like a breaking string, the classroom door suddenly burst open. A tall, imposing figure with an aura of coolness stepped in. His white uniform shirt was impeccably clean, buttoned all the way up to his neck. His perfectly sculpted face made all the girls in the class collectively gasp. It was Zhou Yan. What was the divine celestial doing descending into this commoner's classroom? My heart skipped a beat and I hunched over, pretending to solve problems, silently chanting to myself, "Don't see me, don't see me." But life is rarely as we wish. Zhou Yan walked straight to my desk, not even sparing a glance at Kaiouyi, who was posing coyly, ready to greet him. He slammed a thick stack of exam papers onto my desk with a loud thud. The resounding noise silenced the entire class. "Finish all of this before lunch. One mistake, and you copy it 10 times. Zhou Yan's voice was low and seemingly cold, but I knew perfectly well it was laced with a thinly veiled threat. I looked up, my eyes wide, staring at the pile of advanced math problems he had just thrown down. "These are last year's Tsinghua University entrance exams." I whined. "Is this guy crazy? Zhou Yan, have mercy. I was solving problems until 2 a.m. last night. My brain is about to short-circuit." Zhou Yan frowned and raised his hand. I flinched, instinctively pulling my neck back, thinking he was going to flick my head. To my surprise, his slender, artist-like hand gently adjusted my crooked collar, then smoothly brushed away a few stray hairs from my forehead. The entire class stared, mouths agape, chins practically hitting the floor. "Still daring to talk back? Who was secretly playing games until 3 a.m. last night? Don't think I don't know just because the lights were off." Zhou Yan leaned in close, whispering into my ear, his warm breath sending shivers down my spine. "Back then, you weren't even snoring and the lights weren't on. What else could you be doing if not playing games?" "How do you know all this? Are you stalking me, pervert?" I blushed, pushing him away. "Why would I need to stalk you?" Zhou Yan's lips curved into a rare, devastating smile. "Every time you sleep, you snore as loud as thunder, reaching my room. It'd be a miracle if I could sleep." The surrounding girls looked like they were about to faint, while Kaiouyi's face turned pale, frozen like a wooden statue. Zhou Yan straightened up, finally surveying the class. His gaze lingered on Kaiouyi. "Who just said Jiang Kai wrote me a love letter?" His voice was icy, completely different from when he spoke to me. Kaiouyi stammered, trembling, "Zhou Yan, I saw." "If you have eye problems, get them checked. That was a list of math formulas I made her memorize." Zhou Yan cut her off, his voice sharp as a knife. "Also, Jiang Kai isn't stalking me. I'm tutoring her." If anyone continues to spread baseless rumors that affect her studies, don't blame me for not being considerate of our classmates' friendship." With that, he turned to me and lightly tapped my desk. "What do you want for lunch today? The cafeteria just got sweet and sour ribs." Ribs, yes. My eyes lit up, completely forgetting my embarrassment about being exposed for snoring loudly. "Finish these problems first, then we'll see." Zhou Yan turned his back abruptly and walked away, leaving me with a harsh parting shot. "If you don't finish, you don't eat." His arrogant figure disappeared behind the door, leaving our entire class in a state of chaos. I sighed, picked up my pen, and began to battle the stack of exam papers. Sigh. Other people's childhood sweethearts are gentle and protective. Mine only knows how to mentally torture me with exams. Still, being publicly defended like this wasn't so bad. I secretly glanced at Kyoyi, who was crying into her desk, and gloated inwardly. Serves her right. Who told her to provoke this Jiangkai? I might not be as good at studying as Zhou Yan, but I'm his precious treasure, raised by him from childhood. If you want to bully me, you'll have to get past him first. Actually, the story between Zhou Yan and me was more than just being neighbors. Our mothers had been best friends since they were children, so we were destined to be childhood sweethearts from birth. From a young age, Zhou Yan displayed extraordinary intelligence, reading at 3, solving first-grade math at 5, while I was still wetting the bed at 5. He was always one step ahead of me, always standing at the peak. I always thought the gap between us was immense, but Zhou Yan never abandoned me. He always stopped, patiently pulling me along step by step. Kai, look up here." Zhou Yan's voice echoed in my memory. It was in 10th grade when I failed the math team tryouts and was crying uncontrollably on the school's backfield. Zhou Yan sat beside me and handed me a milk candy. "Don't look down at your feet. Look up at the mountain peak. I'll be waiting for you there. As long as you don't give up, I'll never go on alone." Those words became my motivation for the past 2 years of relentless studying. From being at the bottom of the class, I had climbed into the top 50 of our grade. But my ambition didn't stop there. I wanted to stand proudly beside Zhou Yan at the most prestigious Peking University, not just be his tag-along. At lunchtime, I dragged my famished self to the cafeteria. Zhou Yan was already seated. In front of him was a loaded tray with my favorite sweet and sour ribs, all the bones removed. He was engrossed in a book, maintaining an air of serene composure amidst the cafeteria's din, as if he were in a royal library. I tiptoed to the opposite seat. Just as I was about to sneak a piece of rib, he lightly tapped my hand with his chopsticks. "Did you wash your hands?" "Yes, sparkling clean." I spread my hands before him. Zhou Yan grunted softly, then pulled a wet wipe from his pocket and meticulously cleaned each of my fingers. His actions were so unexpectedly gentle that the girls at the next table shot me envious, fiery glances. I, with my thick skin, simply enjoyed the academic god service. "Finish the problems yet?" he asked as he wiped my hands, his tone like a judge's interrogation. "Done, only 2 mistakes." I puffed out my chest proudly. "Only 2 mistakes? For problems that easy and you still made mistakes?" Zhou Yan frowned, a look of dissatisfaction on his face. "After you eat, we'll go back to class. I'll explain where you went wrong and you'll be penalized double." My mouth drooped, and the rib in my mouth suddenly lost half its flavor. He's truly a capitalist exploiting labor. As I ate, a strange male student approached our table with his own tray, standing awkwardly before us. He looked at me, his face flushing scarlet, stammering, "Hello, Jiang Kai. I am the class president of 12-2. I've liked you for a long time. See, could I possibly have your WeChat?" I choked on my rib, coughing violently. Zhou Yan immediately reached out and patted my back with just the right amount of force, but his gaze at the male student was as cold as ancient ice. "She doesn't use a phone," Zhou Yan answered for me coldly, his hand still steadily patting my back. The male student was stunned. In this day and age, who doesn't use a phone? "She uses a brick phone. It can only make and receive calls, no WeChat." Zhou Yan lied smoothly, his face expressionless. "What the? My phone was a brand new iPhone 15 Pro Max that my mom just bought me for my birthday." The male student looked at me, bewildered, seeking help. Just as I was about to explain, Zhou Yan added a deadly blow. Besides, she's allergic to boys. If a boy comes within 1 meter, she breaks out in hives, struggles to breathe, and has seizures. Do you want her to end up in the hospital?" I was speechless. What kind of ridiculous reason is that? The male student's face went pale with fright. He quickly apologized, snatched up his tray, and fled as if I were carrying the plague. I turned to Zhou Yan, glaring. "You're really good at making things up. Who says I'm allergic to boys?" "What are you, not a boy?" Zhou Yan calmly picked up a piece of vegetable and put it in my bowl, saying indifferently, "I'm different. I'm your antidote." My heart skipped a beat. Why does this guy occasionally drop such cheesy, murderous lines? I hunched over my food, trying to hide my burning cheeks. The atmosphere between us suddenly became strangely ambiguous. "The citywide quality assessment exam is coming up soon," Zhou Yan suddenly said, breaking the silence. "If you get into the top 10 citywide, I'll agree to one request of yours." My head shot up, my eyes shining like car headlights. "Really? Any request?" "Within moral and legal bounds," Zhou Yan smirked, his eyes twinkling with teasing amusement. "Okay, a gentleman's word is his bond. You just wait, I'll show you the power of Shanghai." I slammed the table, declaring boldly. Top 10 citywide? That was a tough challenge, but the reward was a request from Zhou Yan. If he told me to go to heaven to pluck stars, I'd do it. Zhou Yan looked at me, his eyes suddenly deep and unfathomable. "All right, I'll wait. Don't make me wait too long." My bold declaration of aiming for the top 10 spread like wildfire. After just one class, everyone, from the school gate guard to the stray cat in the cafeteria, knew that Jiang Zhou Yan's little shadow, was suffering from a terminal case of delusions of grandeur. "Did you hear? Jiang is trying to usurp the spots of the elite academic geniuses. She must be planning to bribe the principal, right? What else could she do with that pea-brain of hers?" The whispers buzzed in my ears like annoying flies, but I ignored them. My face had been hardened by years of chasing after Zhou Yan. It was thicker than the Great Wall. My only concern was how to cram all that massive physics and chemistry knowledge into my head within 2 weeks. After school, as I stepped out of the gate, Kyoya blocked my way. She folded her arms across her chest, her chin tilted up, looking at me with disdain, as if I were a pile of trash. "Jiang, I heard you want to get into the top 10. Aren't you afraid of climbing too high and falling hard?" I glanced at my watch. It was almost time for Zhou Yan to come over and tutor me. I didn't have time to bicker with her. I tried to squeeze past, but Kyoya blocked me again, her tone growing sharper. "What, are you chickening out? If you know your place, just give up. Don't make a fool of yourself for everyone to laugh at. Zhou Yan only bothers with you out of neighborly pity. Do you really think he'd waste his time tutoring an idiot?" Hot blood rushed to my head. Just because I'm patient doesn't mean I'm meek. I stopped, turned back, and looked directly into Kyoya's eyes, a cold smile playing on my lips. "Kyoya, you care about me that much? Or are you afraid I actually will make it into the top 10? Because if I do, the halo of the elite class beauty like you will be utterly extinguished by me." You're dreaming." Kyoya stamped her foot in anger. "Fine, if you're so confident, let's make a bet." "What kind of bet?" I raised an eyebrow. "If you get into the top 10 in this assessment exam, I'll stand in the middle of the schoolyard and bark like a dog 3 times. Kyoya gritted her teeth, her eyes burning with hatred. "But if you lose, you have to actively stay 10 meters away from Zhou Yan. From now on, you're not allowed to appear in front of him." "Deal," I replied crisply, without a moment's thought. "Remember to practice your barking, class pet." With that, I tossed my hair and walked away, leaving Kyoya standing there, her face contorted with rage. In truth, I was a little nervous. Top 10 was indeed an impossible mission. But once you've committed, you have to follow through. Besides, the reward was a request from Zhou Yan. Thinking of the chance to make the academic god obey me, I felt a surge of energy. When I got home, I opened the door to find Zhou Yan already sitting in the living room. My mother was bustling about, bringing him a plate of fruit. Her smile was as bright as spring blossoms. "Zhou Yan, have some apples, dear. You look so thin. Studying hard, aren't you? Make yourself at home. If Kai gets lazy with her studies, don't hesitate to whack her with the feather duster, okay?" I froze at the doorway. Who's mom's biological child anyway? Zhou Yan nodded politely. "Yes, I understand, Auntie. Don't worry, just leave her to me." His gaze swept over me, lingered on the heavy school bag on my shoulder, and a subtle, knowing smile played on his lips. I shivered, feeling like a lamb walking into a wolf's den. "Why are you standing there?" "Get to the study room," Zhou Yan ordered, his tone allowing no refusal. I trudged after him upstairs to my room. As soon as the door closed, the space suddenly felt strangely suffocating. My room was quite small, and Zhou Yan, at 1.85 meters tall, seemed to fill the entire space. He took off his uniform jacket, hanging it on a chair, wearing only a white shirt with sleeves rolled up, revealing strong, masculine arms with veins subtly bulging. "Sit down," Zhou Yan tapped his pen on the desk. I obediently sat at my study desk, pulling out my books. Zhou Yan pulled up a chair and sat next to me, so close I could smell the faint minty scent emanating from him. My heart began to pound uncontrollably. "Focus," Zhou Yan lightly tapped my forehead, pulling me back to reality. "Today we're reviewing physics. Do this problem." I stared at the long, wordy problem, feeling dizzy. Physics was my sworn enemy. I chewed on my pen, racked my brain, and pulled at my hair, but couldn't write down a single formula. Truly foolish. Two cold words echoed in my ear. I looked up, about to argue, only to find Zhou Yan leaning close, his pencil swiftly scribbling on my scratch paper. His profile was so beautiful it seemed unreal. Long eyelashes cast shadows over his usually sharp eyes, and his nose was straight and high like a slide. "Look at the book, not my face. My face doesn't have the answers." Zhou Yan didn't look up but knew exactly what I was doing. "Who's looking at you?" I blushed, quickly looking down at the scratch paper. Zhou Yan's handwriting was beautiful, each stroke distinct, powerful, and decisive, just like him. He drew a mind map, analyzing the forces concisely and clearly, making even me, who was completely clueless about physics, vaguely begin to understand the problem. "Understand?" Zhou Yan turned to look at me, the distance between our faces barely an inch. "Ununderstand? Vaguely." I stammered, my heart pounding as if it would burst from my chest. "Vaguely means you don't understand." Zhou Yan sighed, then helplessly flicked my head. "Give me your hand." "What for?" I cautiously pulled my hand back. "Give it." Zhou Yan domineeringly took my hand, placed the pen in it, then his large hand enveloped my small one, guiding each stroke across the paper. "Feel the friction here, analyze the vector force in this direction." His deep, warm voice resonated right beside my ear, his hot breath caressing my cheek, making my entire body go numb. My mind was completely blank. I couldn't comprehend a single word about friction or vectors. I only felt the warmth from his hand spreading to mine, and the solid presence of his chest right behind me. "Focus." Zhou Yan squeezed my hand slightly, his voice sterner. "If you don't get into the top 10, I'll cut off your milk tea supply for an entire year." "What? No," I flinched, startled awake. Milk tea was my life. How could he strike at such a fatal weakness? "Then study." Zhou Yan released my hand, crossed his arms, and leaned back in his chair, his eyes full of challenge. "I don't keep useless people." For milk tea, for my honor, and for that request, I gritted my teeth and threw myself into studying like a moth to a flame. Zhou Yan was truly a devil. He forced me to study until midnight. Whenever I started to doze off, he'd pop a piece of apple or a spicy mint candy into my mouth to keep me awake. By 1 a.m., I was utterly defeated, burying my face in my desk and falling asleep without realizing it. In my hazy dream, I felt someone gently lift me, place me on the bed, and carefully cover me with a blanket. A warm hand lightly stroked my hair, accompanied by a soft sigh. "Why are you struggling like this? What's the need for the top 10? I can support you for life anyway." I wanted to open my eyes and ask if it was Zhou Yan talking or if I was dreaming, but sleepiness overwhelmed me, pulling me deeper into slumber. The next morning, I woke up with dark circles under my eyes as big as a panda's. Downstairs, Zhou Yan had already left for school, but he'd left me a carton of milk and a sticky note on the fridge. "Drink your milk to grow a little taller. Being too short will affect the next generation." That annoying guy. Who wants to have kids with him anyway, to worry about the next generation? I grumbled curses under my breath as I drank the milk, but deep down, I felt a strange sweetness. At school, I plunged into studying like a machine. During breaks, I didn't even bother going to the cafeteria to gossip or chase drama. I stayed in the classroom, solving problems. Kyoya walked past me several times, deliberately making sarcastic comments, but I treated her like air. 2 weeks flew by in the blink of an eye, and finally, exam day arrived. I walked into the exam room with the mindset of a warrior entering battle. Zhou Yan was waiting for me at the door, holding a bottle of mineral water with the cap already twisted open. "Take it," he said, handing me the water, his expression as cool as ever. "Thanks," I took the bottle, my hands trembling slightly from nervousness. Zhou Yan looked at me, then suddenly flicked my forehead, a clearly painful flick. "Ow, what was that for?" I clutched my forehead, shouting to wake myself up. Zhou Yan smirked, a rare glint of tenderness in his eyes. "Do well on the exam, don't disappoint me. Remember, I'm waiting to fulfill your request." His words were like a potent stimulant, pumping directly into my bloodstream. I took a deep breath and nodded firmly. "Don't worry, I won't give Kyoya a chance to mock me. I'll make her bark for you." Zhou Yan actually chuckled, then ruffled my carefully brushed hair. "Good, I'll wait to hear the dog bark." The bell signaling the start of the exam rang, and I walked into the room full of determination. The exam papers were distributed. I quickly scanned through them. Thank goodness they were all types of problems Zhou Yan had tutored me on. Even the hardest physics question was identical to the one he had guided me through by hand that day. I smiled, put down my pen, and began to write. The words flowed out like a spring. It had never felt so satisfying. "Zhou Yan, just you wait, I'm coming. Top 10. Here I come." But little did I know, the 80-second tribulation was still awaiting me. The moment I submitted my last exam paper and stepped out of the room, a shocking rumor spread through the school like wildfire. Shanghai leaked exam questions, her parents bribed the examination board. I froze in the bustling hallway, feeling thousands of venomous arrows in the form of contemptuous glances being shot at me. In the distance, Kyoya stood with her arms crossed, a triumphant smile blooming on her face. The rumor of my cheating spread faster than the speed of light, transforming me from an invisible nobody into the school's focal point of criticism. A crowd of students encircled me like spectators at a zoo. Whispers, snickers, and mocking laughter filled the air. "I can't believe Jiang, who looks so innocent, is capable of such schemes." "Exactly. She's been a terrible student for years, and suddenly she claims to be in the top 10. If it's not cheating, then pigs must fly." Kyoya stood in the center of the crowd, clutching a crumpled piece of paper, her face triumphant as if she had just caught a thief red-handed. She held the paper high, her voice shrill. "Everyone, look, this is a cheat sheet I picked up under Jiang Kai's desk after the exam. Inside, it's covered with physics answers. Clear evidence. Can you still deny it?" I narrowed my eyes at the paper in her hand. The handwriting was messy, like a chicken scratch, the ink smudged. It clearly looked like it was written in a hurry. I let out a sneering laugh, crossed my arms, and calmly retorted, "Kyoya, is your brain just for display? You say you picked it up after the exam, but the exam room has cameras, and supervisors walked around constantly. Do you think I have invisibility powers to pull that rubbish out and copy it? And look closely, that ugly, atrocious handwriting, you dare say it's mine. You're insulting my aesthetics." Kyoya was momentarily speechless, but immediately regained her aggressive demeanor. "Don't try to make excuses. You could have deliberately written badly to deny it. What matters is the content. The answers in here match the exam 100%. "Match?" A cold, low voice resonated from behind the crowd, cutting off Kyoya's drama. The crowd automatically parted like the Red Sea, making way for Zhou Yan. His face was devoid of emotion, his eyes sharp as daggers as they swept over Kyoya, making her flinch and step back. Zhou Yan snatched the paper from Kyoya's hand, scanned it, and then chuckled disdainfully. "The answer to essay question 5 is completely wrong. Question 8 uses a university-level formula that high school students haven't learned. You say this matches the exam? Then your own academic level is quite limited." The entire crowd gasped in astonishment. Who was Zhou Yan? He was the school's top student. His words were gospel. If Zhou Yan said it was wrong, then it was definitely wrong. Kyoya's face flushed crimson, and she stammered, You're covering for her. Everyone knows you two are childhood sweethearts." "Covering for her?" Zhou Yan threw the paper to the ground, took a step forward, blocking me. A powerful, oppressive aura emanated from him. Jiang Kai has been studying with me until 2 a.m. every day for the past 2 weeks. Her notes are as tall as her head. Why would she need to cheat with this piece of garbage? Are you insulting her, or are you insulting me? Just then, the principal and our homeroom teacher, nicknamed the Annihilator, rushed over, looking flustered. The principal, his forehead dotted with sweat, held a freshly printed score sheet. "Disperse! Disperse immediately! What's all this commotion about?" The homeroom teacher shouted, her voice echoing through the hallway. Kyoya saw the teachers and, as if grabbing a lifeline, rushed to tattle. "Sir, ma'am, Jiang Kai cheated on the exam. I have proof." "Silence!" the principal bellowed, cutting off her accusation. He turned to look at me, his gaze complex, then looked at Zhou Yan and sighed. "The exam results are in." The principal held up the score sheet. "Jiang Kai's total score is 680. The space fell silent. 680 points. This score ranked her 9th overall in the school. Boom, an atomic bomb had just exploded in the hallway of a high school. I froze, unable to believe my ears. 9th place. I had really made it into the top 10. I turned to look at Zhou Yan, seeing a faint curve at the corner of his lips, his eyes filled with pride and indulgence. Kyoya shrieked, "No way, it must be cheating. Sir, you have to re-examine. How could someone like her, who was at the bottom of the class?" "Enough," Zhou Yan cut her off coldly. "If you're not convinced, I suggest the principal allows Jiang Kai to retake a different exam right here, with questions prepared directly by the math, physics, and chemistry department heads." I flinched, looking at Zhou Yan. Such a big gamble? "I agree." I took a deep breath, head held high. A straight tree fears no falling, true gold fears no fire. Those 2 weeks of hell under tutor Zhou Yan weren't just for show. The principal nodded in agreement. Immediately, a table was set up in the hallway. 3 department heads gathered around me, presenting 3 of the most challenging questions. I picked up the chalk, took a deep breath, and began to solve them. The clicking of the chalk on the blackboard was the only sound in the dead, silent hallway. 15 minutes later, I put the chalk down and turned to face the teachers. The head of the math department pushed up his glasses, nodding in approval. A very clever solution, more concise than the model answer, excellent logical thinking. The head of the chemistry department also smiled. Her knowledge is very solid. There's no question of cheating. Kyoya's face was drained of all color, her hands and feet trembling. She couldn't stand steadily and had to cling to the wall. All the contemptuous, mocking glances that had been directed at me now unanimously shifted to her. I dusted the chalk from my hands, slowly walked up to Kyoya, and offered the friendliest smile I could muster. "Class President Kyo, the results are clear. How do we settle our bet?" Kyoya stammered, tears welling in her eyes. "Jiang Kai, I was just kidding." "Kidding?" I raised an eyebrow. "You were so aggressive then. A gentleman's word is his bond. 4 horses cannot overtake it. Oh, wait, you're a petty person, not a gentleman, but a loss is a loss. The schoolyard is big, please proceed." Kyoya looked around for help, but no one dared to speak up for her. Even her close friends subtly avoided her gaze. Zhou Yan stood beside me, arms crossed, his face as cold as a god of death, dropping a chilling remark. "Hurry up and bark. I still have to take her to celebrate. Don't waste time." Under the pressure from Zhou Yan and the crowd, Kyoya closed her eyes, her face red as a ripe mamortica fruit, and mumbled, "Woof, woof, woof." "Too soft, haven't you eaten?" I pretended to pick at my ear. "My dog barks much louder than you." Kyoya was so humiliated she burst into tears, yelling, "Woof, woof, woof," then covered her face and ran away from the crowd, amidst the roaring laughter of the entire school. I watched her retreating back, a boundless sense of satisfaction blooming in my chest. Dealing with a green tea bitch truly feels electrifying. After school, I skipped happily beside Zhou Yan, humming a tune. "Why is the sky so blue today? Why are the clouds so white?" "That happy?" Zhou Yan glanced at me, his tone teasing. "Of course, didn't you see Kyoya's face just now? Like she swallowed a fly?" I giggled, then suddenly remembered something important and quickly grabbed his sleeve. "Hey, Zhou Yan, I made it into the top 10. 9th place, no less. You promised to grant one of my requests. You can't go back on your word." Zhou Yan stopped and turned to look at me. The sunset's golden light stretched across his shoulders, dyeing his soft black hair. His eyes, deep and profound, held an emotion I dared not name. "Tell me, what do you want?" Zhou Yan asked, his voice low and gentle. I swallowed, my heart thumping. What request? Should I make him do my homework for a year? Or treat me to milk tea for life? No, those are too trivial. This once-in-a-lifetime opportunity must be used wisely. I took a deep breath, looked directly into Zhou Yan's eyes, and declared clearly, "My request is that you pretend to be my boyfriend at my cousin's birthday party this weekend." Zhou Yan froze, his narrow phoenix eyes widening slightly in surprise. He stared at me for a long moment, then suddenly burst out laughing, a radiant smile as bright as morning sunlight, melting my girlish heart. "Is that all?" He leaned down, bringing his face so close I could count each of his eyelashes. "Huh, Jay, just that," I stammered, my face burning. "All right," Zhou Yan whispered, his voice holding a hint of mischievous amusement. "I'll be your boyfriend. But Jiang Kai, if we're going to act, we need to act thoroughly. A boyfriend gets boyfriend privileges. Are you ready?" I stared blankly. PR privileges? What privileges? Zhou Yan didn't answer, just gave a meaningful smirk, then turned and walked away, leaving me rooted to the spot, a chaotic mess of thoughts in my head. Privileges? What exactly is this guy plotting? That weekend, I dressed up and went to my cousin's birthday party, with my fake boyfriend Zhou Yan by my side. I thought playing the role of a couple would just mean walking together and smiling. Little did I know, Zhou Yan got so deeply into character that I started questioning reality. He wasn't wearing his usual stiff uniform, but a meticulously tailored black suit that accentuated his tall, imposing figure and cool, almost ascetic aura. The moment we stepped into the banquet hall, we became the center of attention. My cousin looked at Zhou Yan, his eyes shining as if he'd struck gold, and clapped me heartily on the shoulder. "Well done, Jiang Kai. I thought you'd be single forever, but you actually snagged such a catch. This guy looks familiar. Isn't he Zhou Yan, the top scorer in the city 2 years ago?" I gave an awkward smile, but before I could open my mouth, Zhou Yan firmly clasped my hand. His deep, warm voice rang out, asserting his claim. "Hello, I'm Kai Kai's boyfriend. Thank you for your concern, but Kai Kai didn't trick me. I wanted to pursue her." My heart pounded as if it would leap out of my chest. This guy lies without batting an eye, but why does it sound so convincing? Throughout the party, Zhou Yan meticulously took care of me. He peeled shrimp for me, removed all the onions from my soup bowl because he knew I hated them, and even shielded me from alcohol. His gaze at me was so gentle it could melt a 1,000-year-old iceberg, making my female cousins green with envy. "Hey, that's enough acting, you're going too deep," I whispered, secretly pinching Zhou Yan's waist. Zhou Yan leaned down, the faint scent of alcohol wafting into my ear, his voice husky and magnetic. "Who said I'm acting, Jiang Kai? What if I said I want to turn this pretense into reality?" My mind exploded. I looked up at him, meeting his deep phoenix eyes that gazed at me intently, filled with a rare seriousness. I stuttered, unable to form words, my face burning as if with a high fever. Just as the ambiguous atmosphere reached its peak, Zhou Yan's phone rang incessantly. He looked at the screen, and his expression immediately changed, becoming somber and chillingly cold. "I'll step outside to take this call." Zhou Yan released my hand and hurried out to the balcony. I watched his retreating back, an indescribable sense of unease rising in my heart. 15 minutes passed, and Zhou Yan still hadn't returned. Worried, I went to look for him and found him leaning against the railing, a lit cigarette in his hand, his eyes staring into the infinite night, his face heartbreakingly lonely and helpless. "Zhou Yan," I softly called. He flinched, turned around, quickly hid the cigarette and forced a smile. "Let's go home, it's late." On the way home, Zhou Yan was unusually silent. He didn't tease me, nor did he talk about the exams. When the car stopped in front of my house, he suddenly embraced me tightly, so tightly I could barely breathe. "Jiang Kai, promise me one thing." His voice was choked, his face buried in the crook of my neck. What thing? I was bewildered, my hands and feet fumbling, not knowing where to put them. "No matter what happens, don't give up on your studies. You must pass the Tsinghua University entrance exam. You must go to Beijing." "Of course, I promised you I'd go there with you." I patted his back, trying to comfort him. Why are you so sappy today? Drunk. Zhou Yan released me, looking deep into my eyes as if wanting to imprint my image into his mind one last time. He leaned down and placed a soft kiss on my forehead, whispering, "Good night, you idiot." I blushed and scurried into the house, my heart still racing from the unexpected kiss. That night, I had a beautiful dream. Zhou Yan and I holding hands, walking into the gates of Tsinghua University. The next morning, I went to Zhou Yan's house to invite him to school as usual, only to find the gate locked. The mansion was eerily silent, not a soul in sight. I called his phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I sent WeChat messages, but no one replied. Panicked, I ran to ask the neighbors, and old Uncle Zhang next door told me the Zhou family moved out last night. I saw several luxurious black cars pick them up. They left in such a hurry, they didn't even take all their luggage. Gone, where did he go? Why didn't he say a single word to me? I stood frozen in front of his house, feeling as if the world had collapsed. Did Zhou Yan abandon me? Yesterday, he even kissed my forehead and told me to get into Tsinghua. For the next week, I was like a walking zombie. I went to school, staring at the empty desk beside me, tears constantly welling up. Yi, seeing my pathetic state, gloated openly, spreading rumors everywhere that Zhou Yan had dumped me, that the prince had finally realized Cinderella wasn't worthy. I ignored her. I just wanted to find Zhou Yan. I frantically searched for every clue, but he seemed to have vanished from the face of the earth. Until one afternoon, during a torrential rain, I skipped class and huddled by his front door. Suddenly, I remembered a place, our secret base, a small loose brick in the dividing wall between my backyard and his. When we were little, we used to hide candy, comic books, and exchange secret letters there. I rushed to the backyard, braving the rain to dig through the overgrown weeds, my hands trembling as I pried open the loose brick. Inside, it was empty, except for a single piece of paper, folded into quarters, lying on the damp brick. I unfolded the paper with trembling hands. It was Zhou Yan's familiar handwriting, strong and decisive, but the last stroke was slightly shaky, as if the writer was struggling to control intense emotions. On the paper was a single, short line, "See you at the peak." No explanation, no apology, no farewell, just a vague promise. I slumped onto the muddy ground, clutching the paper to my chest, sobbing uncontrollably in the blinding rain. "You jerk, Zhou Yan, you're a jerk. Where did you go? What the hell is the peak? You told me to wait, but you left without a word." The rain lashed at my face, stinging, but it didn't hurt as much as my bleeding heart. It turned out that my uneasy premonition on his birthday was true. It turned out that his tight hug and his advice to pass Tsinghua were his dying words to my unblossomed first love. I cried until my tears ran dry, cried until my throat was hoarse. But then, looking at the words "see you at the peak" blurred by the rainwater, a fire suddenly ignited within me. The peak? Fine, Zhou Yan, you want to meet me at the peak, do you? You think I'll collapse? You think I'll cry and beg you to come back? Never. I am Shanghai, the childhood sweetheart of academic god Zhou Yan. If you dare to challenge me, I dare to accept. I staggered to my feet, wiping away the tears mixed with rainwater on my face. I clenched the piece of paper in my hand, my eyes burning with an unprecedented determination. Tsinghua? Beijing? Fine, I'll go there. I'll stand at the highest, most brilliant place, so you'll have to look up at me. And when we meet again, I'll slap your face really hard. I will definitely ask you why you left that year. From that day on, the silly, playful, milk tea-loving Jiangkai died. All that remained was a crazy Jiangkai, a tireless learning machine. I chopped off my long, delicate hair, opting for a neat, short style. I deleted all games from my phone, blocked all messages from friends inviting me out. I plastered the words Tsinghua in huge letters on my ceiling, on my study desk, and even on the bathroom mirror. Every morning, I woke up at 4 a.m. to study English vocabulary. During breaks, I no longer went to the cafeteria, but stayed glued to my desk in class, solving math problems. In the evenings, I drank coffee instead of water, staying up until 2 or 3 a.m. to cram physics and chemistry knowledge. My mother looked at me with heartache, often bringing plates of fruit into my room with tears in her eyes. Kai, rest, dear. You'll die if you study like this. If you don't get into Tsinghua, you can go to another school. I'm not forcing you. I'm fine, I said, looking up from the towering stacks of books, my eyes dark-rimmed but blazing with resolve. I have to pass. I absolutely have to pass. I have to pass to find my own answers. "Zhou Yan, you bastard, just you wait. The peak you spoke of, I'm working incredibly hard to climb it." People often say that relentless effort comes at a price of blood and tears. In the first mock exam, I jumped from grade B to 150th in my grade. In the second mock exam, I made it into the top 50. The entire school was shaken. Teachers began to look at me differently, from doubt to astonishment, then admiration. But that still wasn't enough. The top 50 couldn't yet reach the gates of Tsinghua. During the final 100-day sprint, I was practically insane. I forced myself to sleep only 4 hours a day. I plastered chemistry formulas all over my bathroom walls so I could recite them while showering. I recorded English vocabulary to listen to while dozing on the bus. One time, during my homeroom teacher's math class, blood suddenly dripped from my nose onto my pristine exam paper, staining it like dark red plum blossoms. The entire class panicked, and the teacher rushed over. "Shanghai, go to the infirmary immediately." I pinched my nose, looked up at the teacher, one hand still tightly gripping my pen. "Teacher, please wait. Let me finish this geometry problem. I'm almost at the answer." In that moment, the entire class fell silent. Kaio Yi, sitting in front, turned to look at me. For the first time, her eyes held not contempt, but fear. Fear of an iron will so ruthless it turned against oneself. Finally, the scorching summer arrived. Cicadas buzzed incessantly, signaling a battle for survival. As I walked into the university entrance exam room, I no longer trembled. I wore a simple white t-shirt, my hair tied in a high ponytail, and walked with my head held high. I looked up at the clear blue June sky, whispering in my heart, "Zhou Yan, can you see? I'm here." The exam days passed like a dream. When the final bell rang, marking the end of the last subject, I put down my pen, feeling as if a 1,000-pound weight had been lifted from my shoulders, but at the same time, my heart felt strangely empty. A month later, the postman stopped at my gate, shouting, "Shanghai's Tsinghua University admission letter?" My father, who was watering plants, dropped his watering can. My mother rushed out, nearly tearing open the gate. I held the purple envelope, emblazoned with the logo of the nation's most prestigious university, in my hands. My hands trembled more violently than when I held a pen solving problems. I tore open the envelope. The admission notice. Student Jiang Kai. My mother burst into tears, embracing my father. Neighbors crowded around, offering boisterous congratulations. I smiled, tears silently streaming down my cheeks. I dashed upstairs, retrieving the crumpled note from my secret cabinet. I smoothed the paper, placed the admission notice next to it, and took a clear photo. "Zhou Yan, I did it. I'm standing at the peak you talked about. Now it's my turn to find you. Even if you're hiding at the ends of the earth, I will drag you into the light." I packed my luggage. The suitcase contained only a few simple clothes, but was filled with the pride and obsession of the past year. Beijing, wait for me. Zhou Yan, wait for me. The high-speed train sped north, leaving behind a naive and vulnerable youth. I watched the scenery rush past the window, my eyes sharp and resolute. Beijing greeted me with a blinding dust storm in autumn, much like my chaotic state of mind on my first day in the capital. This city was terrifyingly vast, with skyscrapers packed so tightly they seemed to swallow people into their giant shadows. Tsinghua University, hailed as a temple of knowledge, the dream of millions of students, felt to me like a cold, inescapable labyrinth. Because the person who promised to hold my hand through this labyrinth had broken his promise. In my first year of university, I lived like a sleepwalker amidst the bustling city. My dorm had 4 people. The other 3 quickly integrated into their new lives. They talked about trendy clubs, senior gods, and romantic dates by the nameless lake. As for me, I walled myself off in my own world, a world of only books and gnawing memories. I developed a strange habit that the entire IT department gossiped about. I always ate alone but ordered 2 meals. One with sweet and sour ribs, extra chili, my favorite, and one with plain stir-fried vegetables, no onions, no garlic, Zhou Yan's preference. I sat in the most secluded corner of the cafeteria, silently eating my portion, occasionally glancing at the opposite tray growing cold with time. I imagined Zhou Yan sitting there, frowning at me for eating spicy food and nagging me about not taking care of my stomach. But when I blinked, the illusion vanished. Only the unfamiliar din of the crowd around me remained. Look, that's the IT department's campus queen. Beautiful, but her mind seems to be a bit Off, she orders 2 meals every day and just stares at them. Must be heartbroken and gone mad. The whispers reached my ears, but I didn't care. How could they understand that this was the only way I felt less alone in this unfamiliar city? That winter, Beijing was covered in white snow, the temperature dropping to degrees Celsius, a bone-deep cold. I left the library at 11 p.m., the biting wind lashing my face like knife cuts. Walking alone down a deserted, tree-lined street, my heart suddenly leaped when I saw a familiar figure ahead. A tall, slender build, broad shoulders, a calm gait with hands in the pockets of a dark wool coat, head slightly bowed. Every detail was etched into my memory from 3 years of high school. "Zhou Yan," I screamed, my voice shattering in the wind and snow. Despite the icy, slippery road, I rushed forward like a moth to a flame. "Zhou Yan, stop!" I tripped on a stone, falling hard onto the freezing snow. My knee hit the ground with a painful thud, my tights ripped, fresh blood seeping out, staining a patch of white snow red. But I felt no pain. I scrambled up, limping as I chased, my trembling hand grabbing the edge of the person's coat. "Why did you hide from me? You promised." The young man turned around. Under the dim streetlight, a completely unfamiliar face appeared, his eyes wide with surprise and fear as he looked at me. "Student, are you okay? Are you calling me Zhou Yan? But I'm not Zhou Yan." In that moment, my entire world collapsed. It's not him. Again, it's not him. I released the stranger's coat, stepped back a few paces, and then slumped onto the roadside. The tears I had held back for so long burst forth like a broken dam. Hot tears streamed down my cheeks, quickly freezing from the cold wind, stinging painfully. I sobbed uncontrollably in the Beijing snow, crying for my foolishness, crying for this hopeless yearning. Zhou Yan, he's so cruel. What peak did he promise to meet me at? He's a liar. That night, I had a high fever of 41 degrees Celsius, delirious for 2 days and 2 nights. In my dreams, I saw myself running endlessly through a dark tunnel. At the end of the road is Zhou Yan, but every time I was about to reach him, he vanished into smoke and bone. When I woke up, I looked at myself in the mirror. A gaunt face, swollen eyes, long, tangled, messy hair. I looked so pathetic that I didn't even recognize myself. But this weakness ends here. The weak Shanghai of the past is dead. I wiped away my tears, smoothed my short, neat hair, and applied a layer of dark red lipstick. In the mirror now was a girl with eyes sharper, more determined, and more ruthless than ever before. From that day on, I threw myself into studying and working like a moth to a flame. I no longer had time for sorrow. I used busyness to numb my heart. In my second year of university, my senior classmates and I founded an AI startup in a dilapidated garage we rented near campus. We ate instant noodles, slept on floors riddled with wires, pulling all-nighters. Once, while pitching for funding, a fat investor looked at me with disdain. "Little girl, girls should go home and learn makeup. What kind of business are you doing? Your project is too fanciful." I wasn't angry. I just smiled coldly and tossed a thick stack of market analysis documents onto his desk, my voice sharp as steel. "Mr. Wang, you don't have to invest. But in 3 years, when we dominate the market, you will regret missing the opportunity to be on the same boat as the winners today. At that time, even if you kneel and beg, I won't even look at you once." That oppressive aura, that cold ruthlessness, I had learned from Zhou Yan himself. I was gradually becoming a replica of the man I loved, to gain enough strength to find him. In my 4th year of university, our company was valued at hundreds of millions of yuan. I became a notorious demoness in Beijing's tech world, dubbed the Steel Rose of Tsinghua. On graduation day, I had the honor of standing on the highest podium, representing all students to give a speech. Below me was a vast sea of people, applause roaring like thunder. I wore my graduation gown, holding my excellent degree, standing in the position every student coveted. I scanned the vast auditorium, but it was still full of unfamiliar faces, and still a desolate emptiness filled my heart. He wasn't there. I had stood at the peak, but this peak was too cold. I missed him terribly. I looked up at Beijing's gray sky, silently speaking to the indifferent wind that passed by. "Zhou Yan, I graduated. I have money, power, everything you ever expected of me. Now I will use these very wings to turn this country upside down to find you. Even if you hide in hell, I will drag you out, no matter what." 3 years later, Shanghai. At night, this city was dazzling and extravagant, known as the Sleepless Demon, where wealth flowed endlessly. I had completely shed my naive student persona, becoming the investment director of the prestigious RK Venture Capital Fund. Today, I represented my company in the bidding for the Shanghai Smart City project, a lucrative pie worth billions of dollars that every major corporation coveted. The VIP meeting room of the luxurious pit hotel was opulent and stifling. The scent of expensive perfumes mingled with the calculations of businessmen. General Manager Jiang, our biggest opponent today is Jiazhu Group, my assistant, Zhou Yan, whispered in my ear, her tone full of worry. Rumor has it that their CEO is extremely mysterious, having just returned from Silicon Valley to take over Jiazhu half a year ago. His methods are incredibly ruthless, conquering with a single strike. He has never failed in any acquisition. I smirked, adjusting the collar of my white silk shirt, my sharp eyes glinting behind gold-rimmed glasses. The business world is a battlefield. Let's see what kind of formidable deity this is. The heavy mahogany door of the meeting room suddenly opened. The bustling atmosphere in the room seemed to freeze instantly. A group of people in black suits walked in, their imposing aura like an army of conquerors. Leading them was a young man, extraordinarily tall, dressed in a perfectly tailored charcoal gray bespoke suit that accentuated his broad shoulders and powerful inverted triangle physique. He wore silver-rimmed glasses, obscuring his narrow, phoenix eyes, which were nonetheless as sharp as blades. His chiseled, cold face exuded an ascetic and arrogant aura that instinctively made people want to bow in submission. The moment I saw that face, the stack of documents in my hand slipped, almost falling to the ground. Time seemed to stop. The surrounding noise, the hum of the air conditioner, the rustle of papers, everything dissolved into nothingness. In my eyes, only that man remained. 7 long, arduous years. The young boy in a white uniform, smiling radiantly under the phoenix trees, who had promised to wait for me at the peak, had vanished. In his place stood a profound, dangerous, and supremely authoritative Zhou Yan, the current CEO of Jiazhu Group. His gaze swept over the crowd of seasoned businessmen, then stopped at me. There was no surprise, no avoidance. Those deep, dark eyes, like bottomless abysses, stared at me as if wanting to pierce through the resilient facade I had painstakingly built with blood and tears over the years. He walked straight towards me, each step echoing on the marble floor, also thudding heavily against my tightening chest. He stopped in front of me, his overwhelming height forcing me to look up. The familiar scent of cold wood, mixed with a faint hint of tobacco, assailed my nose, making my head spin and my heart pound as if it would burst. General Manager Jiang, I've heard much about you. His deep, magnetic voice resonated in my ear like a smooth cello melody, yet filled with possessiveness. He extended his slender, well-articulated hand towards me. It seems it hasn't been long, yet you no longer recognize me. I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve, my nails digging painfully into my palms to regain a shred of composure. I held my head high, forced a perfectly professional smile, and extended my hand to meet his cold one. General Manager Zhou, a pleasure. Our hands met, and a jolt of electricity ran down my spine. I felt his thumb gently caress my palm, an ambiguous, intimate, and intensely possessive gesture, completely contrasting with his currently aloof and cold expression. He leaned in slightly, close to my ear, whispering a sentence audible only to the two of us, making my entire body tremble. My last line of defense collapsed. Jiang Kai, have you hidden enough? I've been waiting for you at this peak for a long time. It turned out he had never truly disappeared. He had merely been hiding in the shadows, frantically building an empire. So that upon our reunion, he could grandly use this entire world as an engagement gift to compensate me. That handshake in the meeting room that day turned the entire Shanghai business world upside down. Immediately after the bidding ended, Jiazhu Group's CEO, Zhou Yan, openly held the hand of his rival, me, in front of countless reporters' cameras, pulling me straight into a waiting black Bentley. Inside the car, the space was cramped and suffocating. I yanked my hand free from his, my eyes cold as I stared at this man who was both a stranger and deeply familiar. General Manager Zhou, please respect yourself. We are rivals, not... Before I could finish, he kissed me fiercely. Slap, I delivered a hard slap across his face. He wasn't surprised. Instead, he became more forceful, kissing as if he feared if he let me go, he would never find me again. I struggled, punching his chest. Only when my tears began to flow did he stop. I'm sorry for letting you suffer alone. I wasn't good enough. All the days from now on are for you. No, I won't believe you again. It's enough. You have no idea how I've lived these past years while you just left a note and disappeared. I truly hate you, but I also miss you terribly. You were so cruel to me, do you know that? Yes, I know. Now can you calmly listen to my explanation? Can you give me a chance? He took off his silver-rimmed glasses, revealing tired, dark-rimmed eyes filled with the affection he had suppressed for so many years. He took an old folder from his suit pocket and placed it in my hand. Kai, listen to me. I'm not your rival. I'm the one who paved the way for you. I tremblingly opened the folder. Inside were Zhou Yan's mother's terminal cancer medical records from 7 years ago, a contract renouncing his inheritance rights to the Zhou family's assets, and secretly taken photos of me throughout my university years. That year, my mother's illness became critical, requiring a huge sum of money for surgery in the US. At the same time, my biological father, the former chairman of Jiazhu, whom I had never met, sought me out. Zhou Yan's voice was hoarse, like wind whistling through a broken window. He offered a condition. I had to return to the Zhou family, become a puppet for him to control in the power struggle, and must completely cut ties with my past. He investigated you. He said, if you don't go, the next people to suffer an accident will be your parents, and you too. I froze. My fingers gripped the edge of the paper until they turned white. It turned out that when I hated him the most, he was fighting a lonely battle among wolves to protect my peace. Why didn't you tell me? We could have. Couldn't, Zhou Yan interrupted, his large hand enveloping mine, warm and firm. The Zhou family is a murky cesspool. I couldn't let my flower get even a speck of dust on her. I swore I would use these hands to overthrow him, make Jiazhu mine, and then grandly return to pick you up. He pointed out the window, where the twin towers of Shanghai were being built majestically in the distance. This Shanghai project, I didn't bid on it for business. It's the engagement gift I prepared for you. Jiazhu will withdraw, and your RK will win the bid. All the profits and prestige will be yours. My tears, dry for 7 years, finally fell, not out of self-pity, but out of heartache for this foolish man. He had taken such a long detour, endured so much loneliness and danger, just so I could safely reach the peak. Zhou Yan, you're an idiot, I sobbed, lightly hitting his chest. Zhou Yan pulled me into his arms, hugging me so tightly he seemed to want to embed me into his bones. He lowered his head and kissed my tears, whispering, yes, I'm an idiot, but I kept my promise. Shanghai, now I'm strong enough to shield you from the rain and wind. Do you still want to stand at the peak with me? I wrapped my arms around his neck, buried my face in the crook of his neck, inhaling the familiar scent of cold wood, and gently nodded. Without you, the peak is just the coldest place. With you, any place is the peak. 2 years later, the wedding of investment queen Shanghai and tech magnate Zhou Yan was held in Shanghai's tallest tower. The wedding venue was decorated with tens of thousands of white roses, flowers symbolizing pure and eternal love. In the waiting room, Kai Yi, now a famous fashion designer, adjusted my dress while clucking her tongue. Indeed, every pot finds its lid. These two academic monsters finally found each other to torment humanity together. I smiled, looking at myself in the mirror. It was still the determined gaze of all those years ago, but now it was filled with happiness. The door opened, and Zhou Yan walked in. He wore a white tuxedo, so handsome it took one's breath away. He walked to my side, knelt on one knee, and reverently kissed the back of my hand, just like a knight kissing his queen's hand. Wife, it's time. Let's go. I took his hand, and together we walked out onto the brightly lit aisle. The passionate years of youth, the painful process of growing up, and the long, arduous nights of waiting all were worth it for this moment. Epilogue, Zhou Yan's Pav. What to do now? I miss her so much. What is she doing right now? If she's too tired, she must rest well. She absolutely mustn't let herself suffer. I really wanted to congratulate her in person for getting into Tsinghua. I know it wasn't easy for her to get into Tsinghua. She must have pushed herself so hard. I'm sorry I couldn't be there for her then. Actually, before your exam, I did come back to get some documents. I passed by and saw your room light was still on. It was so late and you were still awake. I really wanted to hug you, but I didn't know how to face you, so I just turned away. I hope you will wait for me. I will definitely come back to find you. Finally, I found you. It's time to bring you home. Ah, you finally agreed to marry me? So happy. Thank you for always working hard to find me. Now it's my turn to protect you. From now on, I will always be here with you.